Every year, hundreds of people are reported missing in our state and national parks all over the country. While many of these folks are found, many others simply vanish without a trace. As these cases continue to pile on up, we can only hope to learn from them and be more prepared while venturing outdoors. Join me as I count down 10 more of the strangest state and national park missing person cases out there. Number 10. On March 31st of 2011, a 23-year-old named Adam Lyle Jones left his home in Florida and decided to head out west. He loaded up his car with some personal items for the trip and made several stops along the way to his destination. At some point, he failed to check in with his parents and he was reported missing. Several months later, on May 5th, a park ranger on patrol discovered an abandoned vehicle within the Grand Canyon National Park. Further investigation revealed that the car belonged to that of Adam, and it was not immediately known just how long the car had been there before rangers found it, but some sources state that it may have been there for well over a week. Inside the car, authorities found his laptop and an itinerary he made showing his planned trips, ranging from Colorado to California. A search of the park was conducted by rangers, volunteers, and dog teams, but after several days, and with no clue as to Adam's whereabouts, the search was suspended. To this day, no clues have turned up in Adam's disappearance. Number 9. On June 15th of 2016, a 66-year-old named Jack Thomas entered the Sawtooth Wilderness Recreation Area in Idaho for a day hike, but never returned. He was last seen by other hikers on the Queens River Trailhead. The trail heads upstream and southbound along the edge of the South Fork Piute River between Fern Falls and Elk Lake, and less than a mile past Pitchfork Creek. After he failed to return home the following day on the 16th, his wife reported him missing, and crews began searching for him. Elmore and Boys County crews searched for Thomas for several days, bringing in search and rescue teams from several counties, 8 from the Idaho National Guard, and 2 private search companies. The search was called off on June 27th, and a private organization called the John Francis Foundation took over. However, these combined resources failed to turn up any clue as to Jack's whereabouts, and to this day, he remains missing. Number 8. On September 4th of 2008, a 77-year-old man vanished during his hike up the island of Oahu in Hawaii. Jon Parsons traveled to the island from Australia to visit some friends, and during his time there, he decided to take a solo day hike up a Waimalu Trail on the southern end of the island, which is the 4th largest island in the Hawaiian Islands. The Waimalu Trail is stated as being more of a trail for pig hunters than it is for hikers, and contains rough terrain, thick undergrowth, and several sharp drop-offs. At one point, Parsons encountered a pig hunter and his dogs, and the hunter told him to wait there while he chased after a pig. When he returned about 30 minutes later, Parsons was gone. It wasn't long before Parsons' friends reported him missing, and stated that he was only expected to be out there for about 3 hours. On the night that he was reported missing, Honolulu fire crews conducted an extensive search that lasted for about a week, but turned up no clues. Although the search was eventually called off, volunteers and family members continued to look for him for another 2 weeks until resources were exhausted. The search teams covered over 12 square miles and included aerial and marine searches as well. Half a year later, in the spring of 2009, Parsons' dentures and pension card were found by pig hunters about 2.5 miles from the trailhead. Other than that, no other evidence was found. Nearly 10 years later, this case remains unsolved. Number 7. On September 19th of this year, a 19-year-old girl disappeared inside the Mount Rose area of Nevada. Madelyn Lingenfelter was reported missing by her family after failing to check in that night, and were able to ping her cell phone to the Tenenbaum Event Center near the base of Mount Rose, which is where investigators would eventually find her Toyota Prius. Upon further examination, there were no clues inside the vehicle to point them in any particular direction as to where she may have disappeared to. 69 volunteers, 2 dog teams, and a sheriff's helicopter have covered around 300 miles inside both the Tenenbaum Center and several hiking routes inside the Mount Rose area. After failing to find a single clue, the search was suspended 4 days later on September 24th. The day she went missing, a manager who works at the center mentioned that he saw a woman sitting in the car, which would later be confirmed as belonging to Madelyn's. And when he returned later, he saw that the car was still there, but she wasn't inside. There are no further details about this case. Number 6. On November 4th of this year, a 59-year-old hunter was reported missing by members of his deer hunting party in northern Minnesota. The group had been hunting about 120 miles north of St. Paul, near the Wisconsin border, when David Peltier failed to return to the party's cabin. The group was specifically hunting in the Namaji State Forest along the Gandhi Dancer Trail near Belden. The following day, a multi-agency search and rescue effort, which included over 100 volunteers, searched the area and failed to locate any clues. By the second and third days, the search expanded their zone, and more personnel and volunteers joined in. By this point, several dog teams, ATVs, horseback rangers, and aerial searchers were utilized, and yet nothing was found. On the morning of November 9th, the sheriff's office announced that they were halting the unsuccessful search, though they would follow up on any new leads. The Namaji State Forest totals nearly 92,000 acres in both Pine and Carlton counties. As of November 12, 2018, David remains missing. Number 5. On October 4th of this year, a 30-year-old went missing inside Rocky Mountains National Park in Colorado. Ryan Albert was last seen by other climbers during a summit to Long's Peak in the northern region of the park. His planned route wasn't immediately known to search crews, but information received later revealed that he intended to climb Long's Peak via the Keyhole Route, which is one of the more popular routes to the peak. Rocky Mountain National Park search and rescue crews assisted by other agencies kicked off their search on the night he went missing, but by the following day, a huge storm moved into the area and complicated search efforts. The search included the use of expert climbers, dog teams, and the examination of aerial footage taken from a helicopter. As the days went on, the storm grew more powerful, and by the fourth day of the search, there was waist and chest-deep snow, icy slopes, and impossible search conditions. After a week, operations were forced to shut down until conditions improved again. In the absence of any clues to Ryan's whereabouts, combined with the extreme winter weather, the search would end altogether. Long's Peak reaches 14,259 feet above sea level and attracts thousands of climbers every year. Number 4. On August 4th of this year, a 33-year-old Denver man named Tyler Gorrell went missing in a remote hiking area near Silverthorne, also in Colorado. Tyler was reported missing by family members after he failed to check in with them. I was unable to find any information as to what Tyler's specific plans were, but many speculate he was out for a solo day hike. Search and rescue were notified of Tyler's disappearance a short time later, and his vehicle had been located at the winter trailhead on Rock Creek Road. 72 personnel arrived in the area and provided 510 man-hours, while 11 dog teams provided a combined 67 hours, along with 2 days of flights by the Civil Air Patrol. Despite these efforts and the efforts of volunteers handing out flyers asking for information about Tyler's disappearance, the rescue group reported that it had not been able to find any clues. With a complete lack of evidence and no indication from the general public that he had been seen on any of the surrounding trails, the search was suspended after 2 weeks. Quote, "Although we have suspended the active search for Tyler, the Summit County Sheriff's Office has detectives assigned to the case who will continue to work closely with the Denver Police Department to find him," end quote, stated by Sheriff Jamie Fitzsimmons. Number 3. On July 28th of 2016, a 71-year-old woman named Rosalyn Saxenmeier went missing during a solo hike to Lake Alpine in the Bear Valley area of California. Rosalyn was camping with her family at the Silver Valley campground near Lake Alpine and decided to go for a short walk around 2 p.m. that first day. It was stated that she had some health issues, but was in good health at the time of her disappearance. On top of that, she was familiar with the local area, having visited several times previous. An extensive search and rescue operation kicked off after she failed to return to the campsite a short time later. Efforts peaked 3 days into the search with around 250 search and rescue personnel and involving 27 different agencies. Both searchers and family were baffled when the large search failed to locate any sign of her. Authorities state that the decision was made to call off the search after several days. According to Search and Rescue Coordinator Mr. Case, quote, "It was the most impressive search I have ever been involved in. It was just a huge operation." In total, Mr. Case said the operation employed a ground team, dive teams, sonar equipment via boats to search the water, at least 3 helicopters, hundreds of volunteers, and at night an aircraft with thermal imaging would scan the area. Veteran Sheriff Officer Rick Stevens of the Alpine County Sheriff's Office personally hiked 120 miles during the search. Number 2. In July of this year, 51-year-old Paul Miller and his wife, Stephanie, left their home in Ontario, Canada, and went on vacation, stopping at several locations in California and Nevada to celebrate their 26th anniversary and to enjoy the outdoors. On July 13th, the two got a hotel at 29 Palms and spent the time together enjoying the local hiking scene. On the final day of their 3-day stay, Paul decided to go on one more short hike in the hope of photographing some bighorn sheep in the area. He left the hotel alone at around 9 a.m. and drove to the 49 Palms Oasis Trail in Joshua Tree National Park and promised to be back later that morning. His wife was originally going to accompany him, but with the time constraints pressuring them on the morning of their last day, she decided to stay back at the hotel and pack up. When Paul hadn't returned by 11 a.m., his wife grew concerned, but later decided to give him until noon. But as noon came and went, she called park officials who began a search by 1 p.m. Soon thereafter, Paul's rental car was found at the 49 Palms Oasis trailhead. His cell phone was left behind at the motel, but apparently this was not unusual for him. According to the National Park Service, the 49 Palms Oasis Trail offers a 3-mile round-trip hike and requires 2 to 3 hours and is rated moderately strenuous, ascending about 300 feet each way. This well-maintained trail climbs to a ridge where large numbers of barrel cacti dot the landscape. After winding around the ridge to the top, the trail descends steeply to the oasis located in a rocky canyon. Towering palms create a canopy over clear pools of water. Large boulders provide a place to rest and enjoy the sights and sounds of the small ecosystem. George Land from the National Park Service stated that, quote, "It is not a real difficult trail. You go in and come out the same way. However, it is a little bit of a rigorous trail," end quote. Despite an extensive search involving park officials, search and rescue personnel, 20 dog teams, volunteers, ATV searches, and aerial resources, no sign of Paul has been located. There were over 6,000 hours recorded during the search, and despite the unusually large number of canine teams, the dogs were unable to pick up a scent. The search was scaled back on July 18th and ended altogether a few days after that. As of November 2018, no clues to Paul's disappearance has come forward. Number 1. On September 2nd of this year, 20-year-old University of Wyoming student Kevin Rudnicki traveled out to Mount Hermon in Colorado for a day's hike when he went missing. He was last seen wearing a green t-shirt, khaki cargo shorts, tan boots, and a University of Wyoming baseball hat, and had a backpack containing water and snacks for the short trip. At around 8:45 in the morning of his hike, he ran into one of his former middle school teachers. The two of them chatted a while and went their separate ways. The teacher stated that Kevin was in good spirits and they had a nice time catching up. The area where they met was on Trail 715 in the Limbaugh Canyon area, and from there's another trail that branches off and goes over to Forest Service Road 322. The next day on September 3rd, Kevin's mother reported him missing, and almost immediately, a large search effort was coordinating, involving hundreds of personnel. During the first week he was missing, dozens of search and rescue personnel kicked off the search, focusing their efforts in both the Trail 715 and Service Road 322 areas. By the second week, many more would join the effort, expanding their search zone outside of these areas. Dog teams, rangers, family members, and many volunteers would spend nearly a month searching for any sign of Kevin, but no clues were ever found. The greatest challenge for searchers was the vastness of the area with the widely varied terrain, authorities stated. Quote, "There's a whole lot of established trails as well as a whole network of social trails and unmarked ones that go on forever, and it would be nearly impossible to cover these areas with limited resources and manpower," stated one of the searchers. Kevin is noted as an experienced hiker, having spent the past 6 or 7 years hiking in Pike National Forest near Palm Lake and making his own trail maps. His mother also mentioned that he had been to Mount Hermon previously and knew the area well. And there you have it. Just 10 more of the strangest state and national park missing person cases out there. If you have any new information and updates on these cases, I'm sure we would all appreciate it if you shared it below in the comments section. As always, be safe out there, use good communication, carry protection, and travel in numbers. Thanks for watching and subscribe for more videos.